Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Oh, what a beautiful greeting. Good morning, everyone online. Welcome. I am the Reverend Christine Dance, and I use she and her pronouns, and it is my great honor to serve as the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix. A very special welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. Welcome. We are so glad you are here. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix strives to be a spiritual community for our time, focused on diverse theological perspectives, radical inclusion, and knowing that issues of justice and equity shape everything that we do. If you are new, relatively new, somewhat, you've been here for a while, you've been lurking, whatever, we do invite you to a Get to Know UUCP gathering immediately following the service in Annex H. We'll have folks point that where it is. And today is a very special day. It is International Day of Cardboard Play. Who's excited for this? This is going to be a wonderful multi-generational event that we're doing. And before we start anything, I need at least 10 volunteers who will stay after the service and help us get set up. Can I get 10 hands right now? Katie's watching right over there. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's no, those don't count. They were already counted. That's 2. Yeah, that's not going to be enough. I need 8 more. 3. Okay, this is like an auction. Can I get 4? All right, I've got 4. Can I get 5, 6? It will take 10 minutes. That's all you need. You don't have to. Oh, see, that will do. 6, 7, 8, 9. Can I get 1 more? Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. There you go, Katie. Want to welcome. Yes, for all the minister on the pulpit. She gets $100 in fake money. Welcome to all of you who are joining us via Zoom and YouTube and Facebook. Those of us on the room, can we turn back to the cameras and say hello and give our love to all of those who are watching online, remembering that we are one congregation today, no matter how we are participating. So lovely to see you all waving as well. Our open words this morning, by special request and specially picked by her, are from Brooklyn. Step right up to the mic.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Brooklyn, and I would like to thank Reverend Christine for letting me come up here today for opening words. I want to start with a famous quote from Martin Luther King Jr. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving. This quote is important to me because I would never be able to meet my stepdad or my brother if it wasn't for his movement. And I want to thank Martin Luther King Jr. for stepping up and making a difference in this world in regards to racism and segregation.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Bill Snowden, and I use the he, his pronouns. And I'm your worship associate today. Join me as we recite our covenant, and Brooklyn lights our chalice. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to share our strength and fellowship. Thus do we covenant. Everything going on at UUCP can be found on our website, phoenixuu.org, and our weekly newsletter, Compass. UUCP's civil engagement team urges us all to research and vote the entire ballot. Two crucial down-ballot positions are Maricopa County Attorney and AZ Secretary of State. Links to candidate forums are on the civic engagement page of the website. They also remind us that midterm elections are all about turnout. And handwritten letters have proven to be effective. Learn how to sign up and see statistical proof that the civic engagement page of the website. And now, Reverend Christine has a couple of announcements.
So the first one you just heard, which is today is National Cardboard Day of Play. Please join us after the service for this intergenerational celebration of imagination, which was one of the units in our children's ministry program this year. It is open to all. After all, we all want to play and use our imagination. And I want to plant the seed that in 2 weeks we have a very, very special Sunday. It is the Phoenix Pride Parade. Yes. So it is true that from before you called me as your minister, you've asked me, when are we going to march in the Pride Parade? And the answer is this year. Now, they've made it really interesting because the Pride Parade is at exactly the same time as worship. But that's okay, we can do both. I officially, as your minister, am telling you to skip worship that day. Officially, you heard it here. It's blasphemy. It's awesome blasphemy. We have, if for those of you who are able to walk, you can walk. For those who don't feel like you can walk the whole time, we've got a platform that can hold 10 to 15 seats. We are hoping for as many people to show up as possible so that we can show Phoenix what an open and affirming congregation we are, and in fact, that our faith can save lives. If you want to still come to worship, I'll be preaching on the screen. It won't be the same. You want to come to, you can watch that anytime afterwards. So that's all of the announcements. We hope that we'll see you there on the 16th.
Our offering is a share the plate every week. We split all designated funds from the offering 50-50 with a different organization each month. For October 2022, our Share the Plate partner is La Frontera Impact Suicide Prevention Center. La Frontera Impact Suicide Prevention Center has been providing services in Maricopa County since 1987, offering a full continuum of services to children, adults, and families, including counseling, psychiatry, crisis management, prevention, training, substance abuse, and support groups. Their mission statement is providing innovative solutions to complex problems. We work with community partners to build a safe, strong, and healthy Arizona. You can text UUCP STP to 73256. You can donate through the website, or you can send a check. If you're paying your pledge to UUCP, please indicate that on your check. There's also collection boxes at the entrances with QR codes to scan. Please put your money in there as you come in or go out. For all that you give to our congregation and our community partner, we are so grateful.
So it's together time. It's together time, and I would like to invite some kids to come up. Kids, would you like to come up for together time? I see that you guys have some cool stuff going on back there, but I've got a cool exercise for you here too. I hope it's as cool. Come on up, Brooklyn. I need you, because before you guys sit down, I want you to get in two groups. You guys can figure out kind of two equal folks on this side and on this side. Hi. Hi, Aiden. It's so good to have you all with us. So we've got 4 over here, we've got 2 here. You can be on whatever side you want, mixed jazz. You get to pick. This is perfect. Are you guys good being on this side right now? And you guys on this side? Okay, we're going to do a little experiment. Because, and I want you to know first, yes, can you, so I want you to know first of all that I love all of you, okay? And this is just an experiment so that we can try something, okay? So mixed jazz, you know how special you are to me, right? And this is a very special group. Can you give, I've got some very, very beautiful rocks here. Can you give some rocks to this very special group? We're going to talk about that. Just for the experiment. I know, and we're going to see how they feel about it and how these folks feel about it. You're like, yeah, I'm going to get the rock, aren't you? Would you like one, Eden? Okay, so how did that feel? Did that feel good that they got a rock and you didn't get a rock, a pretty rock? It felt good that they did? Did you like it? No? Why didn't you like it?
If they get one, we don't. It's not fair.
It's not fair. It's not fair. And right there, you all, is the crux of my whole sermon series right there. You're right. It's not fair, right? Now, how did you all feel that you got a rock and they didn't? You got extra rocks? Why did you get extra rocks?
To give them to the other people.
You did. Why do you want to give them to the other people?
Because it would be fair.
Again, because it's not fair, right? Did any of you feel bad that you're getting rocks and they didn't get rocks? Yeah? Okay, so how would you like to rectify that? Yeah? Okay, how about if we give everyone a rock and we do something to make it feel fair? So I want to note something, adults mostly, I'm talking to you all now, because kids understand fairness at a very deep level. A very deep, when they're very small, somebody got a cookie and somebody else didn't. That is not fair. Somebody got, and y'all, these are beautiful rocks, but they're not all that big deal, right? But it's not fair, right? Something happens as we grow older, especially in our society, where you go, I want what's due to me, and I don't care what happens to anyone else. I encourage us to remember our sense of fairness that we had when we were young, where it is clear when something's not fair. And when somebody's getting something that somebody else isn't, we go, that's not right, right? That doesn't seem right. And we want to do something about it. So the clever ways that you had it is mixed jazz. I saw there was no way you were going to let me not give them rocks. You were holding the rocks. You were ready. You took extra rocks so you could share them. Some of you, I imagine, would have been willing to give away your rocks. You would have done anything that you could to help make this feel fair, right? Yeah. You mind if I put the mic in your mouth?
Now that everybody has a rock, it's fair.
Yes. If everyone has a rock, then it's fair. I think you just summed up a couple of our principles and an entire 15 minutes of my sermon. Yes. If everyone has rocks, then it becomes fair. So there is our lesson. Thank you all. I'm sorry if that hurt anyone's feelings. We did it. I hope that you understand it was an experiment so that we could teach some of the older folks things, right? Okay. So I'm wondering if you guys can help me stay up here while I just say a couple other words for some special thank yous to folks. Is that okay? And does anyone want to hold this, take this out and see if anyone else wants rocks? Yeah, you want to help? You want to help hand out some rocks? Any of you who wanted to do that, take some rocks. You can grab some too. Just grab some. That's heavy. Take a handful. See if anybody wants rocks out there. They're special. There you go. Wonderful. Do you want to get some? So I wanted to give, while you guys are getting your very special fair rocks, I wanted to give some thank yous and some welcomes. So first of all, you might have seen in Compass, we have a welcome to a brand new communications coordinator, and his name is Nick Locks. Nick is amazing, and we're so excited to have him on our team. And Nick is going to be taking over Compass and a number of the communications things that Ann Azell was doing. Ann has been wishing to be out of a job for a while, a volunteer job, and we are going to be giving a very special send-off to Ann. She's still very busy transitioning Nick, but hopefully you will get to see emails from Nick and welcome him. He uses he and him pronouns. Ask him about his band. Super cool. The other thank you we want to recognize is today is Belinda Clark's last day as our sexton. So Belinda has been with us for 13 years. Belinda has been doing nothing but kitchen ministry in that kitchen. She has raised children. Yes. In her own way, she has taught about fairness, right and wrong, all of the ways that we do things. She did not want to come out for recognition, but I hope that you'll stop by the kitchen and thank her for all of her years of service with us. And we are so lucky because Sage Fisher has been working under Belinda through all of the pandemic and into these few years, and Sage has accepted the position as lead sexton now and is going to be taking Belinda's space in that. And if you don't know, Sage grew up in this congregation, and it is so, so good to have him in this role. So with that, kids, thank you very much for teaching us about fairness. You can go back to your activities, and I can't wait to see you playing with cardboard this afternoon. Yes, of course you can keep your rocks. That's fair. Absolutely. Thank you very much. You don't have a rock? Well, here. There you go. Yes, thank you very much. So beautiful, Connie. Thank you. It is the time when we share the joys and sorrows of our community. Being together, it is good to share and to support each other and to connect. Folks on Zoom, I invite you to write any joys or sorrows you've got in the chat. For folks here, there are joys and sorrows in the back. Let us take a deep breath as we create the space for the joys and sorrows in our community. I first have to name those in the path of Hurricane Ian and all of the destruction that we've seen in Florida and heading up through the east of our country. We are mourning this now, as well as all of the intensifying weather events that we're seeing. Our concerns about sustainability, our damage, the incremental threatening force of these storms. My heart hurts. We've got much family and friends there who were affected, and I know that we all feel solidarity with that. I also want to name today that we are in between the Jewish holy days, I can say that, of Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, and Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Collectively, these are known in the Jewish tradition as the Days of Awe. Rosh Hashanah is the beginning, and Yom Kippur is the culmination of 10 special awe-inspiring days within which Jews are afforded the opportunity of a spiritual renewal. On these days, many Jews examine their deeds and misdeeds during the preceding year. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur's goal is the opportunity for an ethical and religious reassessment of one's life. To our Jewish siblings, Shana Tova and Yom Tov. From online, Debbie is back, says, it is a joy to be back home after a very challenging time dealing with family matters and a sorrow at having to help my parents with the difficult next stage of their lives. Debbie, welcome home. We are still with you. From Kathy, a joy that my mother, Jean Lawton, a longtime member of UUCP, is almost out of the woods after a hospital stay and now rehab. And I did not know that, Kathy, so thank you very much for letting us know. Please give Jean all of our love. From Terry Talbot, also, I am glad to be home and recovering from 3 weeks of hospitalization, and I want to thank everyone for their concern and love. Terry, we've been sending you so much love, and be gentle with yourself. An in-person sorrow from Carla Miski. Am I saying that right, Carla? And it's about Gary and Carol. And Carla says she has great sadness at Gary's crossing yesterday, sending you love in this tough, difficult time. I wanted to let you also know that Danny Doyle, who is normally managing our camera, has COVID, is at home recovering. We've been showering him with more food than he knows what to do with, and hoping that that helps him recover fast. And thank you, Dale, for sitting in with us today. I appreciate that. I think that is all that I've got, unless we've got anything else coming in. So I want to invite you now into a time of meditation and prayer. I invite you to center yourselves. Take some breaths. Feel the fresh air. Connect with your deeper self. Our meditation today is for Yom Kippur, from Reverend Elizabeth Strong. Join me in the spirit of prayer. We have returned again to the time of atonement, the time to look back over our lives this past year and face the realities of when we have fallen short of the aims set forth in the moments of high resolve. We have the opportunity, if we choose to take it, to hold ourselves to a standard that calls us to heed our faith's principles in the life we live each day. The Jewish New Year asks of us forgiveness and atonement, to be at one with each other in times of broken promises, that we might mend relationships, to be at one with each other in times of pain, that we might bring comfort in our compassion for the intensity of that pain, to be at one with each other in times of joy, that we might enrich the shared laughter so necessary to our well-being. Atonement is an attempt to be at one with the holy. For us, it is also an attempt to create a wholeness of community among ourselves. Here is where the sacred and the holy enter, and the community we create brings a sense of at-one-ment, not known elsewhere. Forgiveness, atonement, wholeness come together in this place as we become one gathered community of liberal religious seekers. Let us rejoice that we are at one. In that togetherness, let us have a moment of silence.
Hello, everyone. I'm Benji Messer. I'm UUCP's music director. I use he, him pronouns, and I am Jewish. So, Happy New Year from that tradition. Most Yom Kippur services end when it's time to put the Torah back in the ark, end with the sung prayer, Avinu Malkeinu. The verse that the choir is about to sing translates very roughly as, "Hear our voice, O God, pity us, be compassionate upon us, accept our prayer."
My childhood religious education centered around attending a Christian Science Sunday school in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Christian Science is considered a religion that uses a faith-based healing. I understood it to be less about God healing us and more about our understanding of the nature of reality as defined by the synonyms for God. I would be remiss if I said as a child I was able to grasp that nature and heal myself, but it did give me the idea that we have some agency in how our lives are made better. Albuquerque was also the location of Sandia Laboratories, which had recruited many scientists, including my dad, to study nuclear energy. I went to school with the sons and daughters of these scientists, and science was an important part about how I looked at the world. When I began looking at this reflection, I looked at some definitions of humanism. One I found from the Humanist magazine. Humanism is a rational philosophy informed by science, inspired by art, and motivated by compassion. Affirming the dignity of each human being, it supports the maximization of individual liberty, an opportunity consonant with social and planetary responsibility. This is a philosophy that speaks to me of inclusion, that looks to each of us for inspiration to contribute to a world where we are accepted and free.
Bill's doing double duty, choir and worship associate. So, have I told you all how much I enjoyed last year's sermon series on white supremacy culture? I did. I loved it. Well, it started as a way for me and us to live into our board's goal of living into our newest 8th principle of dismantling racism. It turned into an opportunity to stretch my own thinking and, most importantly, to create an ongoing conversation with you all. So I really loved each time you would say, yes, that one spoke to me on urgency, but this written word thing I'm really struggling with, and we continued a conversation throughout the year. So it was a bit of pressure to find another topic for this year, something that could be very different, but could aid in taking our conversations to a deeper level. What I was looking for was a way to address this feeling that I've had, and I'm imagining that you've had as well, about just how challenging our world is right now. There are so many, right? Right, come on, like it's so much, and thing after thing. There are so many things that make me feel hopeless right now. Between wars in Ukraine and continuing wars in the rest of the world, climate change and the impacts, divisive politics, the eroding of our democracy, authoritarianism, blatant racism, economic inequality. And this is all without talking about the impact of the pandemic that it's had on us individually and how it has made every single one of those more challenging. Each day, it feels like we need to guard and protect our hope, our hearts, and our minds from the continuing flow of news that makes us sometimes feel hopeless. Anyone else? Anyone else feeling it? Preach it, right? And yet, it turns out that it is my job to bring you hope. So that's no easy job in these times. And not just personally, bring you personally with whatever you're going through hope, but us collectively as a society, as a community, as a nation, as a world. How can I bring hope that we can be kinder, more just, more liberating to each other? How is it that we can live into the promise of what we know ourselves to be, that of collective liberation? So for this series, I'm not coming up with it on my own. I'm going to be looking at hope from the views of different world religions each time. About once a month, I have a little flexibility on that. I will be drawing from many sources for this. I'm going to be looking at it particularly through a collective liberation lens. I might be drawing from James Cone and his concept of Black liberation from the 1970s, and Miguel de la Torre and his writing of Latinx liberation from the 1990s. And I am going to be drawing heavily from de la Torre's brilliant collection of essays entitled The Hope of Liberation in World Religions. Now, I'm a little prejudiced on this because Miguel de la Torre was one of my professors in seminary. He happens to be a very famous theologian. He's a radical, a Cuban, a Baptist minister, and he challenges us to constantly look at our faith from the perspectives of those on the margins. He has brought in for this book all kinds of leading scholars and practitioners of different world religions to explore what those religions have to say about liberation and where we can find hope from that. This year, I have hope that we will get to explore humanism, Latin American Catholicism, the Black Church, Islam, Buddhism, Native American theology, Judaism, and African traditional religion, exploring them all as sources of hope and liberation. So I want to start with some collective understanding in this critical question. What is collective liberation? Dr. Martin Luther King said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality." The great civil rights leader Fannie Lou Hamer said that nobody's free until everyone's free. In her speech, she paid tribute to Black women in Mississippi who started the ball rolling with regard to civil rights, activism, as well as white women who woke up to the white male patriarchal oppression. This was in 1971, and we are still waking. It is this collective liberation that I need hope in right now. It is that sense that we are the people who are rooting for other people, that like our children taught us that we are trying to find ways to be fair, to make sure that everyone has a special stone. In the rise of evangelicalism and neoliberalism, I can talk, I swear, let me try this. Neoliberalism, we are seeing the exponential increase of individualism in financial institutions, multinational corporations, and mass media. De la Torre says that all of these economic arrangements, more often than not, dehumanize those made poor. When the world's disenfranchised are commodified, cultural consequences follow, specifically in the disintegration of communal and familial life. So let's talk about liberation theology, all right? I've preached once before about liberation theology. You can tell it's kind of important, but it's also very much where our Unitarian Universalist principles lie. De la Torre says that there's 5 general concepts to liberal theology. First is liberation as salvation. Now, Susan Goldsmith next week is going to get into salvation from a UU perspective. You all don't want to miss it. It's going to be really great. But liberation theology says liberation must be from all forms of oppression, specifically political, sexual, economic, environmental, and religious. So liberation is salvation. Second of all theologies are contextual. Since liberation theology is always grassroots, it's important that we explore the context that it comes from. That's why we're going to explore liberation from the context of all of these different world religions. 3, emphasis on action rather than doctrine. Now, you all are experts at this. De la Torre says, contrary to the deductive methodology employed by the dominant culture's theology, which begins with a truth, doctrine, scripture, or church teaching, and then moves towards creating action, liberationists begin with the experience of the poor and the oppressed. That means we're not starting with scripture that's calling us to action. We're starting with the action that's happening in the world and bringing that into our theology. 4, related to that is the preferential treatment for the poor. Liberation theology says that if there is a God, it is the God of the poor. And 5, which is the reality of institutional violence. Latinx liberation theologian Gustavo Gutierrez says that violence is more than physical abuse. It incorporates the long-term violence imposed by political, social, and economic institutions that foster death through the denial of basic human needs. Wow. Okay, so that was a super quick romp through liberation theology. You guys got it? Good? We got it? We know everything that we need about liberation. We're on. Let's go. Let's go. So how does it apply now? So for this first week, I wanted to focus a little bit more on what liberation meant so that we have that common context. And I want to be honest, what I really wanted to talk about today was about how Judaism talks about liberation because of the High Holy Days this week. But the truth is I needed to explore this concept of liberation theology, collective liberation, a little bit more, and that meant that I was going to have to give less time to Judaism, which is not fair because liberation is one of the central points of Judaism. So bookmark that now. We're going to explore that later when we can go into liberation. Exodus will be part of it, I'm just saying. We'll be exploring that later. Instead, today, I want to explore something where liberation is more easily understood by many of you, which is humanism. In De La Torre's book, the chapter on humanism is written by Anthony Pinn, who's a professor of religious studies at Rice University. He has 17 books, including African American humanist principles. He is looking at humanism through a distinctly African American lens, which was very insightful for me. Indeed, it was a sign of my own white supremacy culture that I thought of humanism as a white theology or perspective. So let's turn that on its head, shall we? Pinn grounds the humanist development in the civil rights movement, where Black churches were called to give an account of their commitment to human progress. It involved a sense of the collective, communal concern with transformation, as opposed to the racial individualism of the religious kind of otherworldly orientation. He names Martin Luther King and Ella Baker as influencers in his. Pinn says that Black theology and womanist theology, look into it, queer, Black, female perspective, very cool, created a worldly liberal view, and that they recognize the manner in which the historical progress of the human race has taken place at the expense of particular groups not within the circle of dominance. It is a recognition that human progress has tended to produce a bloody trail from Europe through Africa and into the Americas, and freedom of thought and belief must acknowledge, follow, and redeem this bloody trail. Now, humanism separated from the more Christian theologies eventually. Pinn said that this is situated, instead of being otherworldly, it is inherently this worldly. It is calling forth of our human promise and pitfalls. It is pointing out the emptiness of God, like God's absence, literally, like if God's not there, then it calls for us as humans to fill the void as best they can. Humanism acknowledges that we must nurture life in its various forms. It names a desire for health and well-being, acknowledging that this means that it is not fully within our grasp. And Pinn says that humanism centers on concern for the community as the ultimate orientation for life. The community as orientation for life. Does that sound familiar to any of us here? It is a recognition of the interconnectedness of all forms of life, the nurturing of this web of existence That is the preoccupation of humanism, providing both a theological anchor and a motivation for ethics. Humanism encourages a view of the world that seeks to promote healing and balance for all forms of life. So where does the optimism come? Optimism from humanism comes from an appreciation of humanity's tenacity, humanity's potential to recognize and address many layers of oppression. It is living a life of integrity, not just with those of one's own community, but with those of all communities, that gives us hope and direction. Reverend Dr. Jay Hooper, the first Black humanist chaplain serving the Minneapolis, Minnesota community, says this about his humanism. Like some on the humanist spectrum, I revere reason and rationale. I believe the place where love meets wisdom is holy ground. These formations of meaning undergird my practice of serving and compassion as a chaplain. Reverend Hooper was in Minnesota in the days following the murder of George Floyd. And as the chaplain, many people came up to him and asked him to pray. This is the humanist prayer that he came up with during those difficult times. Let us take this moment to share and witness each other's life and greatness. May we honor the opportunity to share in the inherited worth or dignity of each other's knowledge and compassion. For this is a moment of deep concern that requires comfort and a practice of peace and compassion to confront our sorrows. Let us see in this moment that we are enough, and we are in this together. There is nothing that we cannot do if we work together for the good in each other. Let us be all we need in this moment. So from a humanist lens, let us be the community for each other. Let us be the hope for each other. Let us build the liberation for all, for each other. Let it be so.
As we begin this series of worship services drawing from different world religions, the choir would like to offer a piece that finds inspiration and wisdom in world religions. It ends with a prayer for peace in many languages. This is the third movement of Jason Shelton's Universalist cantata, Sources. This movement is titled All Lifted Hearts.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea, all lifted hearts are free. Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea, all lifted hearts are free.
In the Talmud of the Jewish tradition, the sage Hillel said, what is hateful to you, do not do to others. This is the whole of the law. The rest is commentary.
In the Hindu legend of the Mahabharata, the divine Krishna declared, "This is the sum of duty. Do nothing unto others which would cause you pain if done to you."
It is written, it is taught. May it be so.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea. All lifted hearts are free.
In the Gospel of Matthew, in the Christian scriptures, the Messiah Jesus says, "Whatever you wish that others would do to you, do so to them."
In the Buddhist text of the Udana Varga, the student is urged, hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful.
It is written, it is taught. May it be so.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea. All lifted hearts are free.
In the Muslim hadith of Al-Nawawi, the Prophet Muhammad teaches, no one of you is a believer until he desires for his brother that which he desires for himself.
In the Tashang treatise of Taoism, the seeker is instructed, regard your neighbor's gain as your gain, and your neighbor's loss as your loss.
It is written, it is taught. May it be so.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea. All lifted hearts are free.
In the ancient wisdom of Shinto, there is a saying, the heart of the person before you is a mirror. See there your own form.
The Oglala Lakota spiritual leader Black Elk wrote, all things are our relatives. What we do to everything, we do to ourselves.
It is written, it is taught. May it be so.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea. All lifted hearts are free.
Shalom, Hasiti, Salam, Hewa, Dohiyi, Pax, Patsomer, Shanti, 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 Shalom, Hasiti, Salam, Hewa,
felt so good. Does anyone feel like maybe things feel, that word that starts with N, listening to the choir, that it feels normal again? It feels so lovely. Thank you so much for that beautiful gift. So immediately following service, we have coffee hour. Please be sure to give love to Belinda. We'll have it online here in a Zoom room that is in the link, and outside. And then the cardboard day of play, those of you who had volunteered, it's going to be here in the sanctuary, nice and air conditioned. It's going to be so much fun. Please join us here. And may we embrace the hope of humanism, the knowledge that we are all connected, and truly that in community, none of us are free until all of us are free. May we understand that the interconnected web of all existence is in our hands. May we make that web stronger, more equal, more just. And may we know that we are the ones that we've been waiting for to make that happen. Go in peace, go in love, go in hope, and go in liberation. So might it be.
The philosophy which owed one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. Everywhere is war. It's a war that until they're no longer first class and second class citizens of any nation, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes. Miss a war that until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race. This a war that until that day, the dream of lasting peace, world citizenship, rule of international morality will remaining but a fleeting illusion to be pursued but never attained. Now everywhere is war.
Hi, folks.
War. And until the ignoble and unhappy regime that hold our
This
brothers
is the part where I
in
sing to test the mic.
Angola,
Okay, oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, folks. Thank you for volunteering. Amanda, would you mind heading chair stacking? Okay, so I need 4 people to work with Amanda to stack that clump of chairs, no more than 6 chairs high, but stack them and put them that way. Then I need 4 more people just against that wall, against the window. Yep. And then would you be willing to lift and move cardboard? Okay, let's find you some more hands. Oh, yep.
Rumors of a war.
Perfect. Would you be willing to lift and move cardboard?
The African continent will not know peace. We Africans will fight. We find it necessary. And we know we shall win as we are confident in the victory of good over evil. Good over evil, yeah.
I was gonna send Leo to get that stuff. Some of the kiddos. Okay, go grab it. Yep. Okay, so there should be a station wagon at the gate to the patio filled with cardboard that we need to bring in. Would you be willing to start on that? In here. Yep, just right here is great.
I am a poor
Thank you.